twin moons of Tatooine cast a pale glow over the sandy landscape, filtering through the small window in Anakin's room. Qui-Gon had just left, reassuringly placing a hand on the boy's shoulder after checking for blood infections. "Rest now, Anakin," he'd said, his voice gentle but firm. "Tomorrow will be a big day." Anakin nodded obediently, though excitement still bubbles within him. The pod race was all that he could think about, his chance to prove himself, but as he drifts into sleep, the dreams that come are far from what he'd expected. Darkness envelops him, suffocating him in a shroud that pressed in from all sides. Suddenly, he finds himself in an unfamiliar room, cold and foreboding. Before him, an older man, cloaked in shadow, raises his hand. The figure is terrifying, yet strangely familiar, as if Anakin had seen him before somewhere. On the bed beside him lays Immune, his face elongated and twisted in fear. The older man's fingers crack with electricity, and without a word, he unleashes a torrent of blue lightning upon the helpless Immune. The air fills with an acrid smell of burning flesh, and the Immune's screams echo in Anakin's ears, reverberating through his very soul. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Anakin had heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise before? Well, if so, then today you are in for an absolutely bantatacular treat, as that's exactly what we're about to dive into today. So, cuddle up with your nice warm bowl of bantha stew, and let's dive right into what if Anakin Skywalker had heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. If you like what you hear today, please remember to like and subscribe, as it can help out small channels like ours significantly. Anyway, let's get right into the story. In this dream, Anakin wants to cry out, to stop this madness, but he's rooted to the spot, powerless to act. The scene before him fades into a void, and Anakin wakes with a sudden gasp, his heart pounding into his chest. He sits up in his bed, sweat dampening his brow. The night was still, but the memory of the dream lingered like a shadow over his thoughts. He considers telling Qui-Gon or his mother, but something holds him back. Instead, he represses the dream into the recesses of his mind, where it would lie in wait for 13 long years until its true meaning would be revealed. As the years pass, Anakin grows from a gifted boy into a formidable Jedi Knight, but the memory of that dreadful night on Tatooine never left him. It lingers in the back of his mind, an unresolved puzzle, a dark omen that cast a shadow over his thoughts. When Qui-Gon Jinn fell to Darth Maul on Naboo, Anakin felt a profound loss, as though he had lost the only master that he had known so briefly. Obi-Wan Kenobi, now his mentor, does his best to guide Anakin through the pain, but the young Jedi often feels adrift, plagued by uncertainties that he can never quite articulate. Whenever he tries to, Obi-Wan always chastises him, for the Jedi aren't supposed to feel emotions. "I can't handle these feelings," Anakin says to his young master. "The loss, the pain of my mother, of Qui-Gon, the one Jedi Master who I truly knew. I just can't, Obi-Wan. I can't," he says to him one night in confidence. Obi-Wan sits, stroking his beard, wondering what to say to the young Jedi. "Anakin, you must learn to let go," he says. "You must learn to let go of everything that you hold dear, that you love, and all of this pain." Anakin stands up frustrated. "I can't just let go, Obi-Wan," he says. "My mother is somewhere on Tatooine, and I left her, and Qui-Gon is dead." Obi-Wan looks at him, a sharp glare in his eyes. "I know very well that Qui-Gon is dead," Obi-Wan replies. "He was my master, and I knew him for far longer than you did." Anakin shakes his head, sitting down. "I'm sorry, Obi-Wan. I just don't know how I can get rid of these thoughts, these feelings. I don't get it." Obi-Wan places a hand on Anakin's shoulder. "Well, my young apprentice, this can be a journey that we embark on together." Anakin smiles. "Thank you, Obi-Wan. I appreciate your guidance." Obi-Wan nods. "Of course, young Padawan." However, even after this interaction, Anakin still feels that Obi-Wan doesn't understand him. And he doesn't feel understood by the rest of the Jedi Order either, who are all significantly more entrenched in their ways, as they had come at a much younger age and had been indoctrinated into the ways of the Jedi in a way that Anakin never could be. One day, as Anakin is quietly meditating in the Jedi chambers, he remembers a memory from when he was a boy. Shortly after the Battle of Theed on Naboo, Anakin had been introduced to Sheev Palpatine, the newly appointed Chancellor of the Republic and former senator for Naboo. The meeting was meant to be a formality, but a chance for the young hero of Naboo to receive praise from the leader of the free galaxy. But as soon as Anakin stood before Palpatine, a chill ran down his spine. The Chancellor smiles warmly, his words honeyed and full of praise, yet something about the man set Anakin on edge. "Young Skywalker," Palpatine said, his voice as smooth as silk. "I foresee a great future for you in the Republic. The Jedi Council is fortunate to have such a promising young member in their midst." Anakin nods politely, but his stomach churned. There's something in Palpatine's eyes, a flicker of something dark and unsettling that reminds him of the nightmare that he had had as a child, the one that he had fought so hard to forget. As time goes on, Anakin's unease around Palpatine only grows. Even though now, as a Jedi apprentice, he had seen the Chancellor on multiple occasions, there's something still strange to him about it, and in this moment, while he's in quiet meditation, he can't seem to shake this feeling, and this thinking that there was something bizarre about him, especially since the Chancellor had seemed to take a special interest in him, offering guidance and support. Anakin could never fully trust him. He couldn't explain why, but being in Palpatine's presence always left him feeling drained, as if some unseen force was pulling at his very essence. Anakin's force sensitivity reveals subtle hints that Palpatine is not who he seems to be. He can sense little small things about Palpatine, see things in his expressions and the way he acts that continue to remind him of that dream, that vision. The Chancellor's aura is cloaked in shadows, and his presence in the Force is masked in a way that leaves Anakin's senses confused. He can't pinpoint the source of this discomfort, but he knows that it was just more than nerves or paranoia. One day, finally, after experiencing this for so long, Anakin decides to confide in Obi-Wan about it. "Obi-Wan, I have something I wanted to talk to you about," he says one day as they're walking through the halls of the Jedi Temple. "Of course, Anakin. You can talk to me about anything," Obi-Wan replies, smiling. Anakin takes a deep breath. "Well, there's something strange going on with me. I don't know what it was," Anakin says. "Oh? Strange, you say? Did you have too much of that bantha brew that they're serving in the cafeteria?" he says, smiling. Anakin laughs. "No, I'm used to bantha-related materials. No, Obi-Wan. This is something stranger." "Well, please, confide in me, Anakin." Anakin tells him about his vision when he was a child, along with everything that had been coming to his mind, and how Palpatine seemed to remind him of that dream. "I'm starting to think that it wasn't just a dream, Obi-Wan. Perhaps it was a vision, something to do with Chancellor Palpatine." Obi-Wan pauses, wondering to himself what this boy was thinking. "Anakin, he's the Chancellor of the Republic. You really think that he could be related to this dark dream of yours? Something you had when you were a child?" "I don't think that was a vision, Anakin. That was probably just a nightmare that never left you." Anakin once again becomes frustrated. "No," he says. "There's something more, something deeper going on." Obi-Wan simply shakes his head. "I'll bring this up with the Council, Anakin, but I don't think that they're going to believe you. I don't think that they're going to understand what you're going through, and they will be far too entrenched in their own egos to understand that they might have missed something so crucial as the Chancellor of the Republic being a Sith." "I didn't say he was a Sith," Anakin says. "I just said he feels strange." "Well, your vision certainly would suggest that he was a Sith," Obi-Wan says. "Only a Sith uses Force lightning like that." We'll see what happens, Anakin, but you shouldn't put too much faith in visions. They can always lead you down the wrong path, and, in addition, they can show you a very wrong future and be used to twist you to the dark side, he says. "But what if I have a chance to save the Order?" Anakin asks in response. "What if this actually means something?" Obi-Wan just looks at Anakin. "Be careful, Anakin. Don't let this vision consume you. For the most part, Palpatine can sense Anakin's apprehension, but he also knows that the Jedi won't listen to his concerns and remains patient. He knows that Anakin is the key to his plans, and he carefully lays the groundwork for their future bond, even as the boy keeps him at arm's length. As Anakin matures, Palpatine's influence grows even more insidious. The Chancellor subtly plays on Anakin's fears, his doubts about the Jedi Order, and his frustrations with the Council's rigid ways. "Ah, my boy," one day he says, as they're walking through the halls of the Senate building, "the Jedi don't see your power. They don't understand that perhaps Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't either." Anakin scoffs. "No, Chancellor. Obi-Wan is a good master. I am frustrated with him sometimes, but I respect him." "Oh, I have a lot of respect for him too, my boy, but that doesn't make him a good master for who may be the most powerful Jedi that the Order has ever seen," he says slyly. This kind of gets into Anakin's head, and he thinks about it more, even though, no matter how hard Palpatine tries to draw him closer, Anakin continues to remain wary. He still has that lingering sense of dread that prevents him from fully embracing a man who could one day claim to be his friend and mentor. There was something strange about Palpatine, something rather insidious, perhaps even. Anakin still can't shake that feeling of the dark figure from his childhood dream that he was somehow connected to the Chancellor. Though he couldn't yet see the full picture, and though the Jedi scoffed at him and tell him that this is all just a bunch of lies and manipulation from some dark cavern of his imagination, there was something that was going on, and that one day he would have to confront that truth. A truth that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The nightmares that plagued Anakin as a child had left deep scars on his psyche, making him more introspective and brooding than ever before. When he starts having visions of his mother in pain, the memories of that first dreadful dream resurface with a vengeance. Anakin can't shake the feeling that these visions are more than just dreams, they are warnings. He pleads with Obi-Wan to help him find his mother, but his master remains firm in his duty to the Jedi Order. "Anakin, focus on your mission. Don't let these dreams get in your way. Remember, you made a commitment to the Jedi Order. You wanted this lifestyle. And now you have to make sacrifices. I've told you this over and over and over again, Anakin. Don't let those dreams plague you. Let them loose. Follow your heart. Be a Jedi. Come on. I'm here for you, Anakin. But we have to remain devoted to the Order. We cannot go on side quests like this to free your mother. Your attachments blind you, Anakin. Remember your dedication." Anakin shakes his head. "You don't understand, Obi-Wan. You don't get it. You didn't even know your mother. You just... Ugh." Anakin can't even articulate his anger and frustration as he storms out of the room, not wanting to see his master again for a while. Determined and desperate, Anakin sets off with Padme to Tatooine after their short little stint on Naboo. He's relentless in his search, driven by an overwhelming need to save that one person who had always loved him unconditionally, even with his dreams. When he finally finds Shmi, butchered in that Tusken camp, it's too late. She dies in his arms, her last breath slipping away as Anakin's heart fills with rage. This rage consumes him, and it's more intense than anything he had ever felt before. He slaughters the entire Tusken camp in a blind fury, but unlike the past, Anakin keeps this atrocity a secret, even from Padme. His anger towards Obi-Wan continues to fester, blaming him for his mother's death, and that trust that he once had in those who were closest to him, those who had taken him in as a child, began to crumble. The memory of the unknown Mune's death haunts him still, fueling his growth in mistrust and pushing him further into isolation from those who care about him. After the Battle of Geonosis, the Clone Wars begin to rage across the galaxy, and Anakin Skywalker is no longer the bright-eyed boy from Tatooine. His once vibrant personality is dark, earning him a reputation among the Jedi and clones alike as a somber and sometimes cruel warrior who gets the job done no matter what the cost. The memory of his mother's death and his unresolved nightmare from his childhood fuel an anger that carry into every single battle where he slices droids and commands his clones to absolutely annihilate the battle competition. He's focused and he's more ruthless. His connection to the dark side starts to deepen, even though he tries to hide it from those around him as he slinks deeper into those dark emotions. One day, as he is leading an attack on one of the droid command ships through a battle, he lands inside one of the hangar bays alongside many of his clone pilots. There, he massacres many droids before making his way up to the bridge with the 501st under the command of Captain Rex. In this battle, the Torrent Company absolutely annihilates many of the droids inside of the hangar bay. They proceed to go further and further into the ship, cutting down droids left and right, alongside an unexpected ally, the Bad Batch, who had been undercover on this ship and were now engaged in the battle. They cut down droids and work with General Skywalker to try and destroy the Separatist threat. However, when they arrive at the bridge, something unexpected happens. "We surrender," the Neimoidian commander says. "Please don't kill us. We surrender." Anakin looks straight at them, his eyes blazing with a dark fire. "I don't accept your surrender," he says. Captain Rex shoots Anakin a look. "Sir, you have to accept the surrender. They are giving themselves to the Republic. Losing them could be losing valuable intel." Anakin looks back at Rex. "Kill them all," he says. Rex shoots him another glare. "I don't think I feel comfortable." "Kill them all," Anakin retaliates. Rex looks at his troops, who are shocked, including the Bad Batch. "Well, you heard him, boys. It's our job." So, the 501st, under Rex and Anakin, alongside the Bad Batch, absolutely massacre the rest of the Neimoidians on this ship, along with the commander, who begs for his life at the hands of Anakin Skywalker again. "Please, General Skywalker, don't kill me. Please." Anakin doesn't listen, and instead simply cuts him down. When Anakin and Dooku have their encounter on Naboo, when the Separatists are trying to get the Gungans and the Naboo to join their cause, Anakin's feelings can barely be contained. His fury erupts. The duel is intense, a fierce clash of lightsabers that echoes through the cavernous hall that they are in. Anakin attacks with relentless aggression, his Form 5 lightsaber technique amplifying his physical power. Every swing of his blade is driven by the rage that he had harbored from his mother's death, rather than the fear of losing Padme. Dooku, a seasoned duelist in this situation, is caught off guard by the ferocity of Anakin's assault, but he manages to deflect many of his attacks still. "Your anger betrays you, young Skywalker," Dooku taunts, though the strain was evident in his voice. Anakin's response is a wordless growl as he presses the attack, his strength bolstered by the dark side's intoxicating allure. However, because of the dark side's intoxicating allure, Anakin is unable to remain focused. His rage consumes him. So, when Dooku smiles and shoots a blast of Force lightning in his direction, it takes him off guard, hitting him squarely in the chest. The intense pain brings him to his knees, and his lightsaber clatters to the floor as he struggles to resist the onslaught. Dooku uses this moment to capture Anakin Skywalker, smiling, hoping that this moment would allow for him to make the trade for Grievous, as the Republic had just captured him. This prisoner goes forward, and the exchange continues as it does in the Clone Wars. Anakin's mind is a storm as he waits, trapped, captured, filled with conflicting emotions. He's enraged, humiliated, and he has a deep hatred for Dooku and the Sith. Following this, Obi-Wan tries to engage with his young Padawan, but he fears that Anakin is drawing further and further away from him. The Clone Wars continue to proceed as much as they were designed to, but Anakin's demeanor continues to darken. His aggression on the battlefield is legendary, feared by enemies and allies alike. The loss of his mother, coupled with haunting visions of Plagueis' death, weigh heavily on his soul, pushing him further down a path of isolation and inner turmoil. Though he still cares for Padme and respects Obi-Wan, the bonds that once tied him to them are fraying, weakened by his growing mistrust and the shadow of the dark side that looms closer, that Anakin knows has something to do with his vision. But the Jedi wouldn't listen. As Anakin Skywalker then, at the end of the Clone Wars, faces Count Dooku for the final time, his rage is an unstoppable force. His anger, fueled by the repeated attempts on Padme's life and the deep-seated grief that exists in his soul, transforms him into a whirlwind of destruction. His Form 5, always aggressive, is now amplified by his excessive, dark emotions. Each strike of his lightsaber is fueled by the memory of his mother and the relentless fear for his wife. Dooku, even though he's skilled, is unable to counter the raw power of the younger Jedi. Anakin's blade moves with deadly precision, cutting through Dooku's defenses. In a decisive move, Anakin severs Dooku's hands, leaving the Sith Lord helpless. With grim resolve, he crossed the blades over Dooku's throat, and without hesitation or the command from Palpatine, he decapitates the Count, smiling as he does so. The room falls silent, the air thick with the aftermath of the brutal act. Palpatine watches in shock, taken aback by Anakin's willingness to cross such a line. The dark side of the Force had radiated from Anakin like a palpable aura, a sign that he was edging closer to the embrace of the Sith. Though the Chancellor was pleased with this outcome, he's both intrigued and wary of the depth of Anakin's anger. As the invisible hand crash lands on Coruscant with Obi-Wan and Palpatine, Anakin's thoughts are already elsewhere. He hurries to Padme, eager to share in their joy of this fantastic revelation that she was pregnant and that he was going to have kids. Anakin's heart soars with happiness, but that evening, as he lay in his bed beside her, nightmares of Padme's death during childbirth return to him with an angry vengeance. He wakes up in a cold sweat, the fear of losing her overwhelming. Avoiding the need to worry her further, he leaves for the Jedi Temple, leaving Padme unaware of his distress. Anakin's isolation grows as he feels disconnected from those around him, including Obi-Wan. He recognizes that his options are limited. The only Jedi who might understand his struggles were Master Windu. Even though Master Windu didn't seem to like Anakin very much, he knew that Mace Windu used the dark side to tap into his Vapad form, and that perhaps he could provide some empathy for him. Anakin seeks out Windu with a heavy heart. The Jedi Master senses the deep darkness within Anakin and welcomes him into his quarters in the middle of the night. "What troubles you, Skywalker?" Windu asks, his tone both stern and compassionate. Anakin hesitates before revealing his fears. "I've been having visions of someone close to me, dying." He takes a moment, pausing, sighing before he continues. "It involves Padme, dying in childbirth." Windu's eyes narrow thoughtfully. "Is this child yours?" he asks. Anakin's silence was all the confirmation that he needed. Despite the gravity of the situation, Windu's demeanor remains measured. "Thank you for your honesty, Anakin. Is there anything that I can do to help you?" Anakin is taken aback by Windu's willingness to assist, especially compared to his experiences with the Jedi in the past. "Well, there's one thing that nobody else seems to understand, but you might, Windu. You might get it." He tells Windu about his visions of the Mune's death. Windu shakes his head, puzzled by the query, but he's willing to listen. Anakin recounts his early vision, his mother's death, and the subsequent slaughter of the Tuskens, an act that he had kept a secret, believing that it would forever alienate him from those that he cared about. He tells him that he believes that a lot of his childhood trauma is rooted in what he believes to be a vision. Windu listens intently, his expression a mix of concern and contemplation. "Anakin," he says finally, "we need to address these matters carefully. Your past actions, including the Tuskens, will need to be resolved, but for now, let's focus on your immediate concerns." As Anakin and Windu continue their discussion, Windu's trust in the troubled Jedi deepens. Yet, the weight of these revelations soon compel Windu to bring these matters before the Jedi Council. As they finish their conversation, Anakin is summoned into the Supreme Chancellor's office, a summons that would further entangle him in a web of destiny and deceit. The triumphant return of Anakin Skywalker to Coruscant is met with accolades and celebrations across the planet. His daring rescue of Chancellor Palpatine earns him the title of even more of a war hero, in a move that sends shockwaves through the Jedi Order. And Palpatine, again, personally promotes Anakin to the Council, a position which is traditionally reserved for the most esteemed Jedi Masters. The promotion was a breach of the Jedi's most sacred traditions, but faced with the reality of the war's end and the Chancellor's influence, the Council accepts Anakin to be a member. However, they do not accept him to be a master. Upon entering the Jedi Council chamber, Anakin is greeted with a mixture of curiosity and restrained respect. His appointment does not come with the rank of master, which is met with quiet nods of agreement from council members. Anakin, though, in this situation bears no resentment. He'd already received a pledge of support from Mace Windu, who promised to help him navigate the complexities of his new role. Anakin takes his seat among the council, his gaze occasionally meeting Windu's, both men exchanging silent communication that speaks volumes. The council session is filled with discussions about the ongoing war strategies and intelligence. Anakin's presence is both a symbol of new energy and a reminder of the shifting dynamics within the Order. Windu and Anakin lock eyes often, a sign of deepening trust and the unspoken understanding between them. After the meeting, Windu, alongside Obi-Wan, commission Anakin with a critical task. They want him to keep a close watch on the Chancellor and report any suspicious activities to them. Anakin accepts the mission with a degree of unease. Not due to any personal conflict, but because he felt as though the task bordered on treachery against the Chancellor. Later, Anakin receives an invitation from Palpatine to attend a performance in the Opera House, a gesture that seems both grand and personal. Anakin accepts, curious about what the Chancellor wishes to discuss. Maybe he just wanted to congratulate him after his war effort. But as he watched the performance, Palpatine begins to broach a serious topic about something strange. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Palpatine asks, his voice an eerie calm. Anakin shakes his head. No, he says. Palpatine leans closer, his expression darkening with the weight of the tale. I thought not. It's not a story that the Jedi would tell you. Darth Plagueis was so powerful that he could manipulate the Force and the midichlorians to create life. But, in the end, he was betrayed by his own apprentice, killed in his sleep. The story resonates with Anakin as Palpatine speaks, a chilling epiphany gripping him. The shadowy figure from his nightmares, the Sith who had killed the Mune, was now unmistakably linked to Palpatine. Because now, Anakin could see the parallels between his dream and the story. The realization is like a jolt, a final piece falling into place as Palpatine's dark mask falls. As Palpatine reveals the location of General Grievous, Anakin's mind races. He excuses himself abruptly and rushes to the Jedi Temple, the urgency of the revelations propelling him forward. The pieces of the dark puzzle are aligning, and Anakin knows he needs to share this critical information with the Council immediately. Anakin Skywalker calls an emergency meeting of the Council, his urgency palpable as he enters the chamber. The Council members, gathered and waiting his report, look at him with a mix of concern and curiosity. What have you discovered, Skywalker? Mace Windu's voice is stern, but laced with concern. Anakin takes a deep breath, his face set with determination. I have confirmed that Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord we've been searching for. He is the mastermind behind the dark plot that has endangered the Republic. The room buzzed with shocked murmurs. Obi-Wan Kenobi's expression is one of pure disbelief, and Yoda's eyes narrow, reflecting both worry and wisdom. Windu presses further. That's a bold claim, Skywalker. What evidence do you have to support it? Anakin then, finally, starts to recount his vision to the Jedi Council, looking at Obi-Wan when he does so. When I was a child, I had a vision. Not a dream, but a vision. I was Sith Lord using lightning to kill a Mune in his sleep. That vision has haunted me, and recently, Chancellor Palpatine spoke of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, a tale that matched my vision. It's clear to me that Palpatine is a Sith Lord who betrayed and killed his master. His mask has finally fallen. I sensed his darkness. Windu's expression hardens. Then we must act. We should arrest the Chancellor immediately. Yoda's ears twitch in contemplation. Patience we must have. More evidence needed, and more Jedi Masters to arrest him, if true this is. Strong in the dark side, Sidious is. The Senate's persuasion we must ensure. The council deliberates, ultimately deciding that Jedi Master Kit Fisto would be dispatched to Utapau to confront General Grievous, a crucial lead Anakin had shared. Meanwhile, the Masters, Yoda and Plo Koon, would return to Coruscant and assist Anakin in gathering the evidence needed for the impending confrontation with the Chancellor. With the Council's decision made, Anakin returns to the Chancellor's office to discuss recent developments. Master Fisto has been sent to Utapau instead of me, he reports to Palpatine, ever the Master Manipulator, who plays on Anakin's insecurities, walking alongside him in the opulent office. As they walk, Anakin's unease continues to grow. He reaches out with the Force, searching for any sign of Palpatine's true nature, but he only found a carefully crafted mask of calm. Palpatine's voice grows seductive as he speaks. Anakin, you've learned much, but there is more to know. The dark side can offer you the power to save your wife from the visions that you've been seeing. Anakin's heart races. He draws his lightsaber, the hum filling the silence of the room. How did Palpatine know of his visions? What was going on? This was more proof, furthering what he was telling him about being a Sith. Anakin draws his lightsaber, his hand touching the hilt. Are you the Sith Lord, Chancellor? He demands, his voice steady but edged with desperation. Palpatine's face twists into a malevolent grin. Yes, Anakin. I am the Sith Lord. But only I can give you the power to save your wife from death. Join me, and together we can bring peace and justice to the galaxy. Anakin's grip tightens on his saber, the weight of his choice is pressing heavily upon him. The path before him is fraught with peril, but the promise of saving Padme pulls at his heart, even as the darkness of Sidious's offer threatens to consume him. In that moment, the chamber doors hiss open as the Jedi Masters file in, their lightsabers ignited and poised, having just seen a recording that Anakin had placed to them by having a bug inside of his Jedi robes. Master Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Plo Koon, Agen Collar, and Sassy Tin enter with determination. Anakin Skywalker, positioned strategically, begins recording more of the conversation between the Jedi and Chancellor Palpatine, waiting for his precise moment to act. The atmosphere crackles with tension as Palpatine, now exposed as the Sith Lord, drew his lightsabers. A battle erupts almost immediately as Palpatine cries, "It's treason then," and explodes forward. Sidious's face is contorted in a snarl of fury as he launches into a relentless assault, his speed and dark energy catching the Jedi off guard. They quickly form a circle around Palpatine, their coordinated efforts aiming to trap the Sith Lord. Despite their best efforts, Palpatine's power proves formidable. He unleashes a devastating force scream that shatters the calm of the chamber, sending waves of dark energy through the room. Agent Collar and Sassy Tin, caught in the blast, fall to the ground, their lightsabers deactivated. With loss of their Jedi comrades, the Jedi's resolve is hardened. Mace Windu and Yoda press in with renewed intensity, their lightsabers slicing through the air with precise, calculated movements. Plo and Obi-Wan fight ferociously alongside them, with Plo's powerful strikes and Kenobi's steadfast defense creating a formidable defense against the Sith Lord. Palpatine's attempts to evade capture are thwarted at every turn. The chamber is alive with the clashing of lightsabers and the hum of energy. Despite his skills and ferocity, Sidious struggles to match the combined might of the Jedi. His attempts to escape are futile as the Jedi tighten their grip. Anakin, sensing the battle's turning point, takes a decisive step forward. His lightsaber ignites with a fierce blue glow, his expression a mask of cold determination. He confronts Palpatine directly, the weight of his anger and the realization of the Sith Lord's responsibility for Padme's assassination attempts fueling his resolve. The clash between Anakin and Sidious is even more intense. Anakin channels his rage and grief into every strike, his movements fueled by a dark energy that had long lurked within him. Palpatine, though powerful, is caught off balance by Anakin's raw, untamed power. The Sith Lord's hesitation, his reluctance to kill a potential apprentice, prove to be his undoing. Anakin's aggression overwhelmed Palpatine's defenses. With a final decisive strike, he drives his lightsaber through the Sith Lord's heart. The energy of the blade meets Palpatine's flesh, and the Sith Lord's eyes widen in shock and pain as he crumples to the floor. The room falls silent, save for the hum of lightsabers retracting and the heavy breathing of the surviving Jedi. Anakin stands over the fallen Sith Lord, his face a mask of conflicted emotions. The battle was won, but the cost and the implications of their actions weighed heavily on him. As the Jedi gather around him, their expressions a mix of relief and somber reflection, Anakin knows that the galaxy had changed forever with the death of Darth Sidious. Gathering up all of the evidence that the Jedi could get their hands on, Anakin and Windu call an emergency session of the Senate. The two reveal their evidence, which now includes holographic recordings of Palpatine's communications with Dooku during the Clone Wars and blueprints for the DS-1 Death Star superweapon that had been found in the Separatist headquarters. The Senate is horrified by this news, and they acquit the Jedi of their actions. Kit Fisto defeats Grievous with ease, using his unpredictable Form 1 lightsaber combat to confuse and enrage the George General before cutting him down. The location of CIS leaders is revealed and confirmed by Fisto, and the 501st arrives to arrest them. With the CIS leadership arrested, the Separatist movement crumbles, and their parliament is forced into peace talks with the Republic. A final council meeting occurs as Windu reveals what Anakin had told him about the Tusken massacre, along with some of his other crimes throughout the war. Anakin confesses to all of these, and the Jedi deem it necessary to expel him from their order. Anakin accepts this, and he and Padme retire to Naboo. Padme also learns about the massacre and is shocked, but she's able to forgive him after he vows to entertain the darkness never again. Along with Luke and Leia, the four are able to live out the rest of their lives in peace. And Anakin finds himself continuing to talk with Windu and Kenobi as they become closer friends until the end of their natural lives. Anakin's life is tranquil, but he's forever haunted by his actions, along with the fact that he had had that vision as a mere child. While Anakin presents a good face to Padme and his children, he secretly struggles in the shadows, in his meditations, with the weight of his actions, and they haunt him for the rest of his life.